What's up, artists? Marc Brunet here, and welcome to another portfolio review episode. So, who am I? I am a professional artist, so I've been working in the video game industry for many years. And before I stopped working in a studio about 3 years ago, I was working at Blizzard Entertainment on some pretty legendary games. I'm also a teacher. I have an art program called Art School, and this is kind of what inspired this episode in the first place, this series in the first place, because every week for my students, I do art feedback sessions where I'll go over the different assignments from the program or personal art. And so if you want more of what this episode will be, definitely check that out. You can find the link in the top right corner of the screen. I'll put links in the description below as well. For now, let's get started with portfolio review episode 3. Just like in the previous episode, we're going to review 2 different portfolios today from you guys. And so if you want your own portfolio, at least if you want a chance to have your portfolio reviewed like this in a future episode, 2 things that you need to do. First, of course, put a link to it down in the comment section below, but don't do that if you've already done that in one of the previous videos, so no need to post again. But along with the link, you should also include your goal. So the more precise, the better, and the goal can be, kind of where you want to work, or what kind of style you want to work in, or at which studio you want to work at. Whatever the goal, it really doesn't matter as long as it's precise. The more precise, the better. Just like with anything else in life, the clearer the destination, the easier it is to formulate a plan to get you there. If the destination or if the goal is fuzzy, then you'll waste a lot of time and you won't really be able to come up with a plan to actually get you there. So clear goal, having as clear a goal as possible. If you don't have a goal yet, make that your goal, to find a goal. And it sounds a little bit ridiculous, but it can be things like, talking to different artists, looking into different types of careers to figure out maybe what attracts you more, or looking at different art styles and figuring out exactly what compels you to do art, right? What pulls you, and really try to figure out what that goal for you is going to be. Yeah, if you haven't submitted yet, don't hesitate, share the link to your portfolio down in the comment section below. And who knows, you might be featured in future episodes. But yeah, now let's take a look at some cool art and see if we can make some improvements. So let's take a look. All right, so the first portfolio that we have here is going to be from Shannon. And Shannon wants to work at a studio, and she doesn't know which one yet. But she's open to small indie studios to build up experience. All right, so first things first, my feedback will have to critique your goal first. So the main problem here is that it's not precise enough. So sure, you can work at a studio, but it should be at least a studio. You should have an idea of at least which kind of studio. Is it going to be stuff that's more cartoony, stuff that's more realistic? And then your portfolio, regardless of if you want to work in a AAA studio or if you want to work in an indie studio, there should be a clear direction to your portfolio, something that is obvious, that's your preference. So working at a studio is the first step, but beyond that, doing what, right? So what do you want to do at that studio? So try to figure that out as soon as possible. And looking at your portfolio here, the biggest problem is that I don't see art at all when I open your page, right? So as your landing page, you should really make sure that you show some art, that you show as much art as possible. Seeing this here is pretty bad for a home page of a portfolio. So you can definitely have like an about section, but I would put that as something that's kind of hidden, something that people can look at once they're done going through your portfolio and once they're actually interested. Now we can see there is some art here. So one thing that I would recommend, and that would definitely help people just navigate your website, is to have everything included in one place. You can definitely have, subsections, but try to display your entire body of work in one spot, and then maybe allow for like filters so that people can filter certain things out. But it's important for people to have a good overview of your entire portfolio. Now on the right side here, we have like design works, we have photography. For all this stuff, I would use a different portfolio completely. So this really doesn't belong with your artist portfolio. You wouldn't find a studio job with this stuff, and so use a different portfolio for that. Get that out of your game art portfolio. And at the same time, by getting rid of all of these, it just limits the amount of things that we can click on, and it makes the experience a little bit simpler, a little bit more user-friendly. Now, when it comes to your main categories here, you have a lot. I would try to keep it at 2 maximum. So illustrations and concept art is already For an artist, it's already spreading yourself pretty thin because those are two different careers, right? So it's always best to have only one specialization. But, you know, if you're not sure yet, and since you mentioned, you know, indie studios, it's definitely acceptable. So having illustrations and concept art sections, but I wouldn't have anything else. You know, if we look here in the storyboard section, you could definitely get rid of that whole thing and place all of these different images onto just one image. You know, just gather them all into one sheet and place that into your concept work page here, or just remove it completely because it's not really relevant to anything that you would do at a studio. And same idea with the commissions here. You know, it's not really relating to any concept art or illustration work, so I would just get rid of that as well. You know, you can have a portfolio for that kind of stuff, maybe something separate, but for your game dev portfolio, I would recommend that you just take all of those out. And instead, have a homepage where you have both illustrations and concept work all visible at once, and maybe, you know, they're split into like two different blocks, and so that we can easily access as much art as possible, as quickly as possible, and kind of see your body of work all at once as the first thing that we see. Oh, and last thing about the portfolio kind of layout, you know, having this stuff here like powered by Squarespace and having in your URL kind of like the Squarespace name in there. You know, if you're going to go that route, I would just highly recommend that you look at just portfolio websites, you know, like typical portfolio websites, things like CG Society. Those are very nice. You know, the layouts are very simple, very nice, very clean. There's not much fluff to it. So either that, or if you're going to use your own website, have at least your own domain, so you're not, you know, advertising Squarespace at the same time. It looks a little bit amateur. So yeah, you know, Behance or you know, CG Society, those kinds of websites are pretty good for portfolios. I would just use that personally, unless you can create your own websites and remove all branding other than your own, because then yes, it does look quite, you know, quite pro. But having the stuff down here, not so much. All right, now when it comes to the art itself, it's pretty good. You know, you have some really cool stuff here. I really love the way that you use colors. And but one thing I would say though is in the concept section here, there's really not that many concepts, right? The main concepts that I'd kind of see would be those two here. So this and this, and by the way, that should be just one sheet. You know, you definitely don't need two images for that stuff. It's just more things to click through, and really it's the same, right? So put that on one image, and all these other things here, I think those would be better, a better fit in the illustration section. So maybe just have just one section in your portfolio until maybe you have more art for it to justify having a different section. Now, are there pieces that I think you should remove in your illustrations here? This one is not bad. It's just the anatomy of the frog is really strange. Like that arm here is kind of weird. Should probably be, you know, the same size as the other one. This eye that's kind of sticking out. I don't know. This one is not as good as the other ones that you have, I think. No, as good as something like this, for example, or something like that. Or this very good study, by the way, here. So yeah, this one not as strong. And if we move here, this is also something that you could probably remove. It's more of a sketch than anything else. This stuff is 2017. It's getting pretty dated, so this is something I would also consider probably removing, because yeah, you have other content in your portfolio that's definitely better than this. You know, like this is very nice painting, and what we just saw, you know, it definitely didn't match this level, so I'd get rid of that. This one's cool. That one too. That not bad, you know, but I think you could probably update that one or just remove it. Because it's simple enough, you know, that what, 3 years later, I'm sure you can do something that's very good in comparison. So yeah, it's just a little bit outdated, I would think. But yeah, I think that's it when it comes to Shannon's portfolio. So a couple of tweaks that we could definitely easily do that would enhance, you know, the overall just browsing experience and just quality of your portfolio. And a lot of it has to do with just the basic layout, how you lay out everything. So it plays a big part. It's very important. So anyways, if you want to check out some more of our art and you know, maybe look at those in more detail and take your time, I'll put a link to Shannon's portfolio down in the description below, as well as any other like social media links that I can find. Now moving on to the next one, which is going to be by Dio here. So Dio was saying that he is a freelance illustrator who worked who's worked for D&D styled RPG books, creator publisher for almost 5 years, but still don't make it out to the big publishers like Paizo or Wizards of the Coast. He wants to focus on interior artwork like character creature design. All right, so freelancer, trying to attract big publishers to work freelance for those kinds of guys. All right, so maybe this is a personal thing, but I hate seeing this is not a good introduction for this, but your art is very, very good, Dio, so don't take this wrong, but I really am not a fan of seeing groups like this. I really don't like this kind of layout for websites, especially if you have only 43 pieces. If you had like 143, then yeah, maybe groups would make sense, but in this case, once again, we want to see as much art as possible as soon as possible, so I think I would just use that. It's just one page anyway, so people can just look at the whole thing right away. You really don't need to have different groups in there, unless you have more art. So that should be your homepage. This one here, that's the first thing that people should see when they click on your portfolio. Because, well, that's pretty nice. So I don't know if you took hints from the previous episodes here, but the way that you have all the characters up there, your banner gives a really good glimpse at your art in general. So very, very nice banner there. And overall, very, very solid art. All right, so the main reason why I chose this particular portfolio is because while the art is very good, there's something that's kind of concerning about it. And from the perspective of a recruiter. So let's take a look at some of the stuff here. So very, very nice concept. So obviously, more of a concept art for a character, for many characters. So very, very nice drawings. It's awesome to see the process here. Always a great addition. So those recent posts are spot on. This is exactly what you should be working on. My main feedback though on the art style will be that this doesn't really match the kind of style that you would find at at Wizard of the Coast or at Paizo, where it's more a little bit more realistic, in a sense. So this feels more anime, not anime, but Asian flavored, which is something that they don't really have a whole lot of. So style-wise, that might be a problem there, but the quality of the art is really, really good. Another one that's very nice, cool pose, cool colors. I actually did a paint over of this one, so stick around because I'll be showing that a little bit later in this episode. Now, what's concerning about your portfolio, what I wanted to point out is the fact that this is 3 years old. So we jump from something that you did 5 months ago to something that's 3 years old. So there's a huge gap there. And, even though all of this might be pretty nice, it really doesn't match your recent stuff, right? So if you look at the stuff that you did recently, this kind of like Asian inspired, anime inspired style, is very different from your old stuff. And while I feel like this was a lot better suited for the kind of, the kinds of publishers that you're trying to impress, it's very strange that you don't have anything that's more recent to show. So this is awesome. It's an awesome painting, but it's 3 years old. So I really would love to see what you can do right now in your current style with that extra 3 years of, experience, because 3 years for an artist is a long time. You can make a lot of art during that time. If you just do one piece a week, that's at least 50 pieces every year. And so in those 3 years, you could have completely changed and completely cycled through a different set of paintings. And so as a recruiter, personally, I'd be concerned about this. The fact that there's been a lot of time that has passed without any art, and that the bulk of your portfolio is really, really old stuff. Very nice, each of those have some issues, but overall it's very, very good illustrations. So clearly, people were willing to pay money for this, and I think I probably would too. I love also that your portfolio is very obvious. It's obvious what you're into. It's your direction, your target audience is very, very obvious. So clearly, it's concept art, not so much illustrations, very focused on characters and design, and that's awesome. And as a result, that's what people are going to hire you for. And so you'll just get to work on things that you already like to do. Yeah, so as I'm cycling through these, now we're going to, we're 4 years ago now, so something from 2015. And this is starting to look more dated, right? So these ones here, 4 years ago, yeah, those I think you could start to remove. So from this one moving forward, not that it's bad, right? It's not as as representative of your current skill level, and it's just getting way too old for an active artist's portfolio. If you were retired, then that's something else, but clearly, you know, you're looking to level up your game, you're looking to get better gigs. And so I would definitely get rid of all of these. This one here has got, you know, a lot of anatomy issues. Of course, you know, it's 4 years old, so it's been a while. And I'm sure we improved a lot since. So all of these older pieces I would just get rid of, which means that you would be getting rid of like 2/3 of your portfolio. In your case, the biggest problem is just going to be it's not up to date, and it is a significant problem. So I don't know if the rest of it is under NDA or if you just didn't do much art, you know, in the last 3 years. But that would be my #1 focus from now on, just trying to populate this portfolio with drawings, with paintings that represent your current level, and something that can indicate to the potential employer that you are an artist that is looking to improve all the time, which is why, you know, you're submitting new art constantly. So unless you're really happy with your pieces, I wouldn't recommend having anything that's older than 2 years old in your portfolio if you are an active artist, right? So active artist looking for work. Now, like I promised, I am going to show you a quick paint over that I did. So let's jump into Photoshop. And this is the one that I want to give you feedback on. So at first glance, you know, this is a really cool painting, but what I want to point out here is something that might help you get those better gigs that you're looking for, and it has to do with the fundamentals of the painting. So you have very nice ways to embellish a painting. You know, the presentation is really spot on. So nice colors, nice contrasts, nice pose, you know, nice shading. So there's a lot of really good qualities about this painting, about this concept here, but the anatomy is very wonky, and anybody that is looking for artists, you know, for their projects would notice that. So it's something that would be very important for you to try and fix. I mean, this here. So the anatomy, look at the legs, for example, right, of the character, how thick that leg is, how thick the knee is here, you know, like really thick leg. The hips, like this leg ends up, it's not clear, like something like this, but then there's no room for the torso. The section of the leg here from the hips, if that's where it's attached, all the way to the knee is very long. The feet are pretty big too for her. And so all I did really is just tweak the hips area here and the legs. Focus on the anatomy first. I got rid of all the clothes because the clothes just add to the confusion, the overall confusion when you're working on something like this. And so what I would recommend, you know, in terms of workflow, work on your character poses first, character that's naked without any kind of clothes or anything like that, just so that you can really focus on the figure. And once that is good, once the naked character looks really good, then you can add the clothes on top and then kind of just, you know, add all the fluff that you're really good at. But this here, the anatomy, is really what you should be focusing on. Clearly, you're not an amateur, and so if you want to work for those top guys, you know, this is really the kind of stuff that you'll need to bring up, things that you'll need to level up. And based on everything that I've seen from your portfolio, I feel like this is something that would be fairly easy to adjust. I think it's just more of a process thing, right? So you started maybe the character and then decided to go and dress her up maybe a little bit too soon, and it made it harder to notice maybe the anatomy flaws that you hadn't really fixed yet. And so, pro tip, always work on a naked character first, regardless if it's going to be a character that is fully dressed or not, doesn't matter. Practice your anatomy this way. Make sure that the body looks good, that the pose looks good, that the gesture looks good, that the anatomy looks good, and then dress the character up. And that process alone should help you avoid a lot of those mistakes that you made. So there you go. I hope that helps. So very cool art, Dio. And of course, like I said, for Shannon, I'm going to put Dio's portfolio here in the description below. So make sure to check that out. So there you go, guys. I hope this review was helpful. Of course, as I said at the beginning of the episode, if you want a chance to have your own portfolio reviewed, make sure that you put a link to it down in the comment section below. All right, and this is going to wrap up the 3rd episode of the portfolio reviews. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.